Have you ever been in a room where the music is just huge, so full and powerful that you can literally feel it vibrating in your chest? Well, that's the feeling of a big band. Today, we're going to tear down that incredible wall of sound piece by piece and see exactly what makes it work. Seriously, just try to picture this for a second. 17 musicians all on one stage. That's a whole lot of people. And they're not just playing loud, they're creating this perfectly coordinated, massive wave of music. So the big question is, how on earth do they do that without it just turning into a jumbled mess of noise? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. So first things first, what is a big band? It's not just a bunch of musicians who showed up to jam. Think of it more like a high-performance engine. Every single part has a very specific job, and they all have to work together in perfect harmony to make the whole thing go.
And here's that magic number again, 17. With 17 people on stage, you can't just wing it. You need a solid game plan. And that's exactly why big bands are organized into these smaller teams, or sections, where each one brings its own unique sound to the party. Right, so it all comes down to this 4-section structure. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, jazz started in smaller groups. But as the dance halls got bigger and bigger, they needed more sound to fill the room. So the bands just grew. They added more horns, beefed up the rhythm, and eventually landed on this powerhouse lineup that was guaranteed to get a whole room full of people dancing. All right, let's start building this thing from the ground up. You ready to look under the hood? Our very first stop is the engine room of the whole operation, the rhythm section. These are the musicians, usually in the back, who provide all the power and the groove for the entire band. And here they are, the Fantastic Four: piano, bass, drums, and guitar. Their job is basically to build the musical highway that the rest of the band gets to drive on. They lay down the chords, lock in the beat, and create that steady, unstoppable pulse that holds the entire song together.
And this really says it all. They aren't just background noise. They are the absolute core of the band. If the drummer and the bass player aren't perfectly locked in together, that whole 17-piece machine can just fall apart. No pressure, right? It's a seriously important job.
Okay, we've got our engine running. Now it's time for the fun part, the flashy stuff. Let's talk about the instruments you see right up front. These are the ones bringing those big, beautiful melodies and that incredible room-shaking power. We're talking about the saxophones and the mighty brass section. So in the brass section, you've got these two powerhouse teams. First, you have the trumpets. They're the high flyers, cutting through everything with their bright, brilliant sound. Then you've got the trombones down low, adding all this warmth and that deep, rich power. And when they all play a loud, exciting part together, it's called a shout. And trust me, it's a blast of sound that feels like it could knock you right off your feet. And now for the saxophone section, and a little bit of a musical brain teaser. You look at a sax. It's shiny, it's made of brass. So it's a brass instrument, right? Nope. It's actually a woodwind. And the reason why is that tiny little piece of wood right in the mouthpiece. It's called a reed, and when air blows over it, it vibrates and creates that classic, smooth saxophone sound. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so we've met all the players. We know what instruments they're using. But what's the actual, secret sauce that makes it all sound like jazz? Well, it boils down to 3 key ingredients that make the magic happen. First up is the most important one, swing. This isn't just about counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Swing is a feel. It's that bouncy, kind of lopsided rhythm that just gets into your bones and makes you want to move. It's the groove, the pulse, the thing that was so popular, it literally gave an entire era of music its name, the swing era. Now, this is really interesting. Big band music is all about a perfect balance between 2 different ideas. On one hand, you have the arrangement. That's the blueprint, the sheet music that tells everyone exactly what to play and when. It keeps all 17 people in sync. But then, on the other hand, you have improvisation. That's when one musician steps out and makes up an incredible solo right on the spot, totally from their own imagination. So who's the genius putting this whole puzzle together? That would be the arranger. The arranger is basically a musical architect. They design the whole song, deciding which section plays the melody, when the trumpets should get loud, and when to leave space for a killer piano solo. Their job is to make 17 different voices sound like one giant, cohesive instrument. So now that we have the formula, the sections, the swing, and the solos, let's zoom out and see how this music completely took over the culture.
We're heading into the swing era, a time when big band jazz wasn't just popular music, it was the soundtrack of life. Today we have pop stars and rappers, but back in the 1930s and 40s, the biggest celebrities in America were band leaders. Guys like Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and Glenn Miller were absolute superstars. Their music was energetic, it was exciting, and it was a way for people to forget their troubles and just have fun. It was everywhere. So how did this music get so big? It was all about new technology, specifically the radio and records. For the first time, you didn't have to go to a ballroom to hear your favorite band. You could just turn on the radio in your living room and hear a live concert broadcast across the country. It was a total game changer. And let's be clear, this was not quiet, sit down and listen music. This was music made for moving. Thousands of people would pack into massive ballrooms every single night just to dance. In fact, the music was so fast and so energetic that people had to invent brand new, high-flying dances like the Lindy Hop and the Jitterbug just to keep up with the bands. Now you might be thinking, okay, that was a long time ago. But the truth is, the big band's echo is still all around us. You hear it in school jazz bands for sure, but you also hear it in the epic soundtracks to superhero movies or anytime a pop star brings out a whole horn section to make a song sound huge. That legacy of teamwork and individual creativity is everywhere. So from now on, I want you to listen for it. The next time you hear a song with a powerful blast of horns or a rhythm that just makes you want to dance, stop and think about it. You might just be hearing the echo of the big band, a sound that was just too big, too bold, and too fun to ever really go away.